Hello, everyone, and today is the first episode of a brand new series. This series will be called PvPers. In this series, I will teach people how to build teams, how to TP train Lumions, and how to PvP in the Battle Coliseum. This is the first episode of an entire series, so we will start off simple. Being a good PvPer mainly involves on how good you are at battling other people. But you can't battle other people if you don't have a team built. In this episode, we will talk about team building. When you are building a team, there are a ton of different types of teams you can make. There are hyper offensive teams, stally teams, semi-stall teams, bulky offensive teams, support teams, pre-evolve teams. There's actually a ton of different teams you can actually make in game. But what we will create a balanced team today. A balanced team has a bit of everything. There are Lumions with good offense, while also having some Lumions that can also soak hits. The Lumion I will be building around for this video will be Himber. Himber is a nice mix of both offense and bulk. He has one of the best offensive typings in all of Lumion Legacy, which is Ice and Earth. And we can combine that with Icicle Traps for support and also priority. Makes Himber a great first pick for the team. Now that we have our first pick, we need to build around Himber. So, yeah, building around Himber. And this is one of the hardest parts when it comes to team building. Thankfully, there are many Lumions that can do well with Himber. Seer Knight and Tyrex, they are both melee defensive while getting the Terrifying boost, meaning that they can actually lower the melee attack for the opposing Lumions. There's also Luminami, who is a bulky water type that has Power Napper, and there's Cephalops, which has a good mix of bulk and offense that can also heal itself back. But, for this video, we will use Luminami as the second Lumion for the team. Luminami is a bulky Lumion that resists fire, which makes this a great swap in on fire types Lumions. Even better, this thing's bulk is amazing on both sides and can open up with the Power Nap ability. Not to mention, it also has pivot and solid coverage. So, Luminami is a brilliant second pick for the team. One of the noticeable weaknesses, though, with this team is how weak Himber and Luminami are to plant types. I mean, they're both weak to plant types, and that is not good at all. Not to mention that plant types are immune to Flash and Flay, and they resist Earth as well. They are weak to Ice Hammer, but Himber is pretty slow, so it does struggle. So, I decided to add Lumion number 3 onto the team, and this is a no-doubter. We are adding Ikazune onto the team. This is amazing. It's a solid lead, hits pretty hard, and has great pivot options for the rest of the team. Ikazune also links well with Luminami, as Ikazune can lead, and then Luminami can swap in and soak hits with its Power Napper ability. These 3 Lumions are the Lumions that you're going to rely on every battle. Even if the matchups are bad, these 3 Lumions are built around each other. Every other Lumion added onto this team will be our supporters. We don't have any setup yet, mainly because we have pivot moves on our Ikazune. So I decided to go with Charonix as our 4th Lumion. Yes, this Lumion is weak to metal, but it has some crucial immunities that can help the team out. It also has Magnify and Priority, which is amazing, especially in the mid-game / late game. Side note, you could also add Eclipse onto this team really easily. It's a better offensive option because of a better offensive typing, and it's also a lot faster as well. But I think Charonix is better because it can hit harder, and the priority options is nice. Also, that Reaper ability can keep it alive a little bit longer. But most of our Lumions currently aren't very bulky, especially on the range side. I mean, Himber has good melee bulk, Charonix is okay, Ikazune isn't bulky at all, and Luminami has great bulk on both sides, but we're mainly invested on the melee side. So, we need to add a range tank onto the team. Thankfully, there are quite a few good options for range tanks. Venolin. It's a toxic type that can charade other Lumions, it can barter heavy shackles, and heal with Rejuvenate. There's also Stratosaur, which has a very good defensive typing, and it only has 2 weaknesses. It can also tase opposing Lumions, Jetstream, Purge, Magnify. There's a lot going for Stratosaur. Terraclaw is also a great range tank, as it also has great bulk on the range side, while also having solid coverage and dealing decent damage in return. So, what's the range tank that I'm going to pick for the team? I will add Terraclaw to the team. And I know what everyone is thinking. Why are you adding an inferior range tank on the team when Venilin and Stratosaur are options? Well, for most teams, you often want to have a mix of both melee and ranged attackers. If I went for either Venilin or Stratosaur, there will be 4 ranged attackers on the team and only 1 melee attacker. And a lot of teams are built for having a melee and ranged tank, meaning that you're not going to win many battles if you have all melee attackers or all ranged attackers. So having a nice mix of both melee and range attackers is nice for that scenario, and that's why I'm picking Terraclaw. Plus, it also has solid coverage options, and I don't have anything that uses a health amulet yet, so Terraclaw is great for that. Now, there are 2 melee attackers and 3 range attackers, which are a lot better than having 1 melee attacker and 4 range attackers. But looking at these 5 Lumions, we don't have anything that can get rid of traps. So, our 6th Lumion is going to be for support role. We got Zeppelin, who hits very hard, can provoke other Lumions, and has Mudslide to get rid of icicle traps and barbs. There's also Snag Gulp. Yes, this is a pre-evolved Lumion, but this thing is amazing for getting rid of barbs, getting poisons down, and it can heal up with Perch. And then there's also Chartiki, who has great resistances, a solid defensive typing, and burn up to get rid of barbs. And for this team, I'm going to go with a Chartiki, mainly because I think it just fits with the team very well, and I think Chartiki fits very well with Terraclaw. And yeah, those are our 6 Lumions. With these 6, we have great offense with Ikazune and Charonix, great bulk with both Luminami and Himber, while Terraclaw is being a good range tank, and great support with Chartiki. But this team is missing something. It is missing an effective late game cleaner. Thankfully, there are a lot of options I can add for the team. There's Helvantic, but for the sake of the video, I will not add Helvantic onto the team. There's Hunter as well. Hunter has very fast speed stat while also hitting pretty hard while having amazing coverage. Munchwheel and Samarine both have rev up, and after a rev up boost can outspeed everything in the game. They also hit very hard as well. You can even go for a Colossotrops late game clean with Rageful Plushie and a Frail Armor boost. And Colossotrops, man. This thing hits so hard, it can do a lot of work. I love Colossotrops a lot. Unfortunately, I'm not going with Colossotrops as my 7th Lumion, as I will be going with Samarine. Samarine does a lot, because it has a lot of weaknesses, but it's covered up by the rest of the team. Not to mention that, of course, when you get a Sharpen and Rev Up boost, this thing can absolutely destroy everything in the late game. So Samarine is our 7th and final Lumion we will add to the team. This is my team. Himber, Luminami, Ikazune, Charonix, Terraclaw, Chartiki, and Samarine. This team looks very threatening, but despite picking this team well, there are quite a few weaknesses that this team has. Toxic types can be an absolute nightmare, especially if they have poison. And hyper-offensive teams are also scary because most of our Lumions has a really low speed stat. Helvantic and Barbadger teams are probably the biggest threat to this team currently. Deludrix can also do some work against this team as well. So after you find your team, to solve some of the problems, you can add items to help out for your Lumions. For example, putting specialty boots on an Ikazune makes Ikazune a lot faster. Its base speed stat of 94 makes it outspeed pretty much everything in the entire game. Adding a health amulet and Terraclaw makes it so it can actually gain health back, because it doesn't have any reliable healing. Mysterious Dust on Chartiki. It's our support Lumion, so we gotta get rid of the effects right away. And not to mention that a lot of our Lumions are weak to Brawler types. And while we do have Charonix as a Brawler immunity, it's not a Lumion that we're going to probably bring in every battle. So, for the team, I am adding a Martial Pearl to Himber for it to soak a Brawler type hit. This may seem odd, but if you have a lot of weaknesses to your team, you need to prioritize around it. Item management is a huge for competitive PvP, as putting the right items on the right Lumions can dramatically improve your results in battle. Most items are found in the Battle Coliseum shops, like this one right here, but there are some items like the specialty boots and clutch plushie that can be found into the regular game. You also need to rally and TP train for these Lumions, but we will talk about TP training and rallying Lumions in another video. Our team is finally complete. Our team is finally ready to go into battle. But we are going to showcase that in the next episode. As in the next episode of the PvPer series, we will tell y'all how to battle in Lumion Legacy. That video will be out really soon. That's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there's some other stuff that I missed, tell me in the comments below. And I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!